and a tip behind him. That's going to be a spin from Goodell. Maybe, no, he catches it. How in the world did he catch that?
I have no idea, and I'm not sure Ryan Goodell did either, but he comes back onto the track. A little bit of a checkup there around him. That was incredible.
And taking advantage of that, Clayton Ham. Let's take another look at this replay. The 14, all sorts of sideways, and it starts to look like the car wants to go again. That's why he went on the apron. I thought maybe he just was slow and was trying to get out of the way, but he had to save it twice. We are indeed Brunschweiler to the inside of the pair of them. That might not necessarily be the best line unless he can get it woed up in time. He's the bravest on the brakes, and he is going to get it. Wow, the 4 moves up to 5th in a 2-1 move. Side by side between Burns and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has the inside, but not a nose ahead at first under braking. It starts to go back ahead. They're going to go wheel to wheel through here, giving each other space. Now it's a drag race, DJ, on who gets to the line first.
And it's going to be a shorter line there for David Burns, but it's not giving any room by Johan Vanderbilt. They're going to dive down into the corner. Little bit of bumping and banging, but who's it going to be? I think it's Burns by 22 thousandths of a second.
Meanwhile, up towards the front for TCRs, this has now swapped. Waring has swapped with Hardman. That took place last time by down the front stretch. Now looking to swap back. Look at this. Ascend to the inside. Hardman runs along the curb in the hairpin and just about completes the pass and does. Battle for second now up as Wager tries to send his way in for Britannia iSports.
Wow, this is a three-way battle for that first position. All these guys are fighting for the lead. This is
3 wide.
Really nice 3 wide going into Cunningham around a Collier. I can't tell who's going to make it out of this in front of this whole pack, but it looks like it's going to still be Hardman. Andrew Hardman doing a beautiful job to hold on to the lead there.
He's been slowly working his way up through the field. I wouldn't have expected it there. Brown maybe thinking about it 2 for 1.
Wow, great heads up by Johnson, who sees him coming and gives him space, and great braking by Travis Brown. I didn't think there was any way that he managed to get side by side.
Nor did I, but he runs wide there, and that's going to open up the door back for Jeffrey Shulam.
Wheel to wheel, fighting for the 9th position, and it looks like Shulam might have it. Travis Brown cutting back underneath. He's going to fight back on Jeffrey, who's had his hands full for just about the last 5 laps in its entirety, and unfortunately, once again, he is snookered around the outside of Sayat.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
From the Nürburgring to Bathurst, the MX-5s have started the season off with a couple doozies. Meanwhile, in the GT3s, the bumpiness of Sebring gets replaced by the finicky chicanes of Zolder. Let's see how our drivers handle the challenges as we get ready to watch round 2 of the PRL GT Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. First up is Australia's Mount Panorama Circuit. To bring everyone up to speed on the land down under, most famous racing course, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Mount Panorama Circuit. Most drivers simply refer to this place as Bathurst, with it being located just to the southwest of the city's major hub. But most ominously, and perhaps appropriately, it's been nicknamed the Mountain. With more than 500 feet of elevation change over the course of a lap, it's easy to understand why. Though originally built for racing, it's become a street circuit over time, with the track itself used for regular traffic and featuring residential housing all along the roads. This makes this 4-mile, 23-turn course incredibly unique in the world of racing. In the past, the track has hosted a variety of types of cars, including open-wheelers. But modern safety standards means that most competitive racing has now been limited to sports cars and touring cars. However, the dangers are very real due to the incredibly high speeds and lack of runoff throughout much of the circuit. The quickest parts are the run up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend, and then the flat-out blast back down the Conrad Straight and into the chase. This chicane was added in the late 80s to break up the run down to Murray's Corner. But while most chicanes are derided for ruining the character of a track, the terrifying speed as you approach it and the general difficulty make it fit right in with Bathurst challenges. However, the toughest portions are undoubtedly along the mountain itself, with notorious corners like the Cutting, Brock's Skyline, the Dipper, and Forest's Elbow. In fact, one of the more unique worries of this course is that all of these parts are so narrow that track blockages due to wrecks are not uncommon in the first few laps. The Australian fans often line the fences and hillsides to witness the daredevil spectacle of drivers trying to claim King of the Mountain. You can't blame them with how rare of a sight a track like Bathurst is today. DJ, this is a very tough course in just about any car, but a car that likes to slide around like the Miata, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it certainly is, Joe. Drivers are going to have to be very, very careful coming up and over the hill in particular, as that's going to be a big, big danger zone, especially with as much as these cars like to slide, as you said. Now, that said, there are some good overtaking opportunities, primarily going into Griffin's Bend, down into the Chase and Murray's Corner, although we have seen some good late braking maneuvers into the Cutting. But really the trick is when you're coming up and over the hill is being aware of the momentum in these cars. There's a lot of that lateral shift that happens, a lot of lateral movement and weight transfer in the cars, and you've just got to be on top of that. One of the danger areas really and truly isn't necessarily coming down through Skyline and the S's. It's actually coming up over the lip of McPhillamy Park. Because of the speed you're carrying through there, it's very easy to dip a toe off into the grass and find yourself out in the wall. So drivers are going to have to be on their tiptoes up and over the hill, but I think it's going to produce some great racing.
I think so as well. But before we get to that racing, we want to mention that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL GT Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Now, as for the championship situation right now, Odisse Adams Jr. taking that opening win has put him up on the top spot. Bradley Hawley only managed second, but he is also not here today. So he's going to fall a little bit behind, but then the drop weeks will help him out later in the season. Danny Cervantes with a third, followed by Steiber and Chase to round out your top five in the finishing order for the first race of the season. What about the team's championship, DJ?
Well, it's a little bit more spread out in that team's championship with Miata Mafia holding a 60-point advantage over Oh God Right Turns. Crikey No Brakes, only about 4 points back of them. 5-5 Motorsports, 3 points back of them. And Fossil Racing Skull, a single point back. So a good gap up front from Miata Mafia, but very close from second to fifth.
As for today's race, it's going to be 35 minutes as they traditionally do, and it is an open setup series. Now, that said, last time they didn't have required pit stops. This time and for the rest of the season, they will. They need to stop for fuel because they've limited the fuel tanks. They have a drive-through penalty at 13 incidents and a disqualification at 17. Much like last week, we're not expecting many drivers to have to come in for those drive-through penalties because you're more likely to get damage and end your race before you have that drive-through. And they've got some bonus points for the fastest lap pole and 3 incidents or less. So we've just about started our first flying lap for our drivers as they come around Murray's Corner. And it looks like Coimbra is going to be amongst our first to start his flyer. And I think there's one more in front of him that might be starting. It looks like maybe Derek Green back there is just ahead of him in the number 14. And we've extended the qualifying session a little bit more than what we typically see in the MX-5s, DJs. It is 15 minutes just because it takes a long time to get around here.
Yeah, it's truly a massive circuit, Joe, and what you're really seeing here is the draft train starting to form. I expect some switching back and forth between drivers, everybody trying to optimize their time on these long straightaways, and the real advantage for them is you can run like this in these MX-5s because these are not aero-dependent cars, so you're not going to have to be worrying about the aero wash coming up and down the hill. It's just a matter of keeping a little bit of distance to the car in front of you so you're not actively checking yourself up based off of the braking zone from the car in front.
As you can see them head through the cutting and then continuing their way up the hill. This is where it gets very fast and very narrow up here past Solman Park into McPhillamy Park and then finally into Skyline where it's going to start to go downhill once again. There's the little crest that takes you into McPhillamy. A little bit of an inside line there for Coimbra. And in fact, it was so offline that Greenhoe is going to go around him, even though they're not in one of the typical passing places. So down through the S's and into the Dipper, that'll give a little bit of breathing space to Greenhoe.
Yeah, just a little bit, and that's the kind of advantage that he is going to need, although I have to say Ryan Kings is very tight behind Coimbra now, and that could check him up a little bit through those final couple of corners coming down into Forest Elbow, and specifically if he's not able to get a pass done here going down into the chase.
In fact, I think he just got on the radio asking if Paulo is going to be getting out of his way. And he's got the slipstream. I'm surprised he's not catching quicker here. 138 as they finally get on the binders, and Coimbra pulls off to the side, going to allow Kings through, but he goes off course, so that lap is going to be deleted for Ryan Kings, and he's going to cycle back around again. Now, since this is open qualifying, they will get to finish their hot laps, so it is not limited to those 15 minutes, essentially. They can continue on around as long as they go by the start-finish line before the checkered flag is out. And coming across, Green holds provisional pole until Goddard goes down to a 2:32.837. So the 420 car now on the top spot. Kings, of course, saw his lap deleted. So had Greenho. Looks like we're waiting on a few others to come through. David Hebert puts a 2:36.8 on the board, but we're seeing already pretty wide disparities in terms of lap times.
Yeah, we really are. There's about 4 seconds separating the drivers that have put the times down on the board right now. That time from Goddard, though, with the 2:32.8 still holding true. Gonzalez able to put some times down. Lots of drivers here starting to get their laps together. The problem here that they're really going to have to consider is you're not going to get that many bites at the apple. That's why we extended this up into a 15-minute qualifying session. Joe, you mentioned just how long this track is. They have got to try to maximize as Odise Adams Jr. sets the fastest lap.
Wow. And it's by 0.4 of a second as well. So really laying the marker down. King still needs to set a time. He's usually quick, so we got to see what he can do. Looking to see if anybody else is going to get out there and be able to set one. Looks like Richard Regan Jr. had a lap deleted and is only just now coming out of the pits again. Wonder if he wound up hitting the wall somewhere. So the 46 has got to hustle because he's only got about 2 or 3 laps now that he's able to put one on the board. As you can see across the hill, traffic already proving to be a bit of an issue. Down into Forest Elbow here. That is Ryan Kings chasing Kelly Greenho, getting a little bit of a tow. And it does look like this is going to be a good one for Kings. I think he's about half a second up off of his best time.
Yeah, I think he is as well. He was very quick on that last lap coming through Sector 5 on this lap. He was purple there, so we'll have to see if the 5.5 Motorsports driver opts to pull off to the side here. Yes, he is. He and Greenho, very experienced veterans. You can see Greenho just kind of taking a wider line there deliberately to give Kings that corner, and now it'll be Kelly Greenho that's able to take advantage, but they both go off again.
And both of their laps are going to be deleted. They really need to start getting a clean one in. And looks like Coimbra, Cabana behind them catching up. I'm not sure if they are on a clean lap. There's also Goddard in that group crossing the line. Let's see, Cabana going to be the first amongst them. And that counts, but that's not quicker. Coimbra doesn't have that one count. Goddard also does not improve. So we've still got about 21 drivers that have set a time. We're waiting for about a dozen of them to come around and actually put one down. Michael Chase also amongst them that needs to set a lap.
I just saw there Brett Karakoffe coming in and setting a time that'll be good enough for 7th best. He's only about 1/10 of a second off of Ptovin in front of him. Bergquist able to improve a little bit there up into 6th. But as you said, the real story here, Joe, is a couple of the big names here in this series yet to set a time here. And this is not a circuit you want to be starting in the back on. It is a little bit difficult at points to get past, especially if you're stuck behind some slower cars. You can get a big gap and lose that draft train. And there is the added, well, let's call it terror of a big incident causing a complete track blockage up or down the hill.
Looks like Young and Cortina just improved, although Young just wrecked on his way out of the first corner, so I'm not sure. I think he might be able to get back around for another one. Yeah, he should be able to from here as we come up the hill and watch Kelly Greenho continue to follow behind Coimbra. Looking decent right now. Jimmy Richards improves up to 14th, it looks like. Is Kings on a better one? No, looks like Ryan Kings is not on a good one. Looking like 5 seconds off for some reason. So very strange for the 43 if this is another one that got messed up. As Greenho takes it down through Forest Elbow and off the corner. That was not the greatest run through that left-hander.
No, it was not. In just a quick note there on Ryan King's, Joe, he slowed down when he crossed the start-finish straight to let some cars by to try to pick up the draft, but it didn't really work out for him. You can see him there in the back of that shot. He is running into an island unto himself here, so he is not going to really have anybody to draft with.
So down into the chase, not much more to go. Let's see if this one stayed clean. Venaro with a 234.6 puts the 38 car into 14th position. Steiber is not going to improve that time by, it looks like. And then up in front of him, that is Cabana that you can see. And, oh, he went off track, so that's not going to count for him. Coimbra, next one across. He improves to a 233.8, and then Greenhoe puts one down to 232.4. That's second place, front row, and a quarter of a tenth off of Adams Jr.
And I can tell you exactly where he lost that quarter of a tenth, Joe. It was coming off of Murray's corner. The car got a little bit squirrely. The rear end wanted to step out, and he had to catch and sort of square up the car on the exit of the corner. And I think just that little moment of oversteer, that was enough to deprive him of pole.
Watching to see if anybody else is on a quick one. Looks like Foster and Gonzalez probably not going to improve on this lap. And indeed, neither of them do. Adams Jr. is now coming down, as you see him on there. And, oh, that was a little wide coming through Murray's himself. So I don't think that's going to be improvement. And nope, he was about 0.3 off.
And he should have 2 more laps to re-rack if he wants to here at this point. We may see a couple of drivers opting to pop down pit lane, get a fresh set of boots on the car, and try this again. But this is the real story that I'm following right here, Joe. Ryan King's number 43. This is one of the better drivers in the field. He has yet to set a time, and he is not going to get the benefit of the draft here on this lap around. So this is going to be probably a little farther down the field than he would like.
And Richard Regan Jr. finally puts one down, and it looks like the 46 is only going to go to 16th. So, man, there are some fast drivers that look like they're not having the best of qualifying sessions as Kings flies down into the Forest Elbow once more. This will be his 4th attempt at a lap. And after this one, he's only got one more because he's not going to be able to get the line in time before the 2:30 some odd mark that most of the drivers are running. So the 5.5 Motorsport driver sees a little bit of a car in front of him. That's Coimbra. That's too far ahead to feel any effects of a slipstream. So as he gets up to about 130 miles an hour, he's going to have to lift off a little bit, lose some speed, get onto the brakes, down into the chase. Let's see if he gets it right this time. This is what's tripped him up almost every single lap. That one's clean. And as he comes around, all he has to do is master Murray's corner.
And that's easier said than done. We've seen a couple of drivers have problems through Murray's before, but we watch now as Ryan Kings comes into the corner. A little bit wide there, but he's able to gather it up back under him. He's going to get a time down. Does that stick? Yes, it does. Good enough for 7th place.
Ooh, finally. At least he's going to be starting within the top 10. That's the important thing. Leziak crosses the line, doesn't improve. Neither does Lindsay. Simon Doyle, who still needs a lap, doesn't see one count that time. Looks like Austin Bartlett Chase finally puts one down. He's in 26 because of that. And this group that we're watching, that's Ryan Scott. His first lap, good enough for 26 as well. David Hebert has his deleted. And at the back of that group, that is Kevin Berquist. He's going to have to go around one more time as going off the course. It looks like Scott's done for the day.
Yeah, indeed he is. This lap is going to be invalidated, and he's not going to have enough time to come back around on it. Just keeping an eye out of the last couple of drivers to see Michael Chase coming across the line here. Is he going to be able to improve on his time? Looks like he was able to improve very slightly, but it's not going to move him up any positions. Only about a minute left. I think about the last driver to cross the line may be Adam Young in 21st, but don't quote me on that.
Regan Jr. is going to get one more try after this if he needs it. He's down to 17th now. And it looks like he might be a little bit quicker. Let's see as he crosses the line. Yes, indeed. 2:33.3. That's a massive improvement. That is up to 7th.
That's a great run there for him. He'll be very, very happy with that. His time ticking down, only 20 seconds to go. Adam Young crossing the line, so he'll get a chance to do one more. I don't think Randy Gross is going to be able to make it around.
This is too close. 8 seconds left. By the time he comes around the corner, he'll be out of time. 3, 2, and 1. And Randy Gross will be the first to take the checkered flag. Is he better than 23rd? No, does not improve that time. Stacy Hunter in the 71 is the last driver to have set a time currently. It's only Jason Larson, Simon Doyle, and Danny Duchesne behind him. Doyle is out on track. He could manage to put a time down, but it's looking like 29th is likely unless we see Hunter manage to improve here. As behind him, this is Giancarlo Lenzi up to 6th. Fantastic lap for Giancarlo, who was not able to set a time back at the Nürburgring. Hunter isn't able to improve. Giancarlo Lenzi now used to be one of the definite faster drivers here on iRacing, especially in the MX-5, but that was in the old MX-5, if it tells you how long ago that was. So in the new car, let's see how he fares. Oh, doesn't manage to improve on that 2:33.2.
No, he does not. As Simon Doyle is able to put a time down, he'll go up to 24th fastest. So good run there for him in the 87 machine. Watching here the 97 as he works his way around. That is Anthony Cortana.
Cabana is going to park it. He's done for the day. Cortina coming down into the chase. Is he going to be able to keep it within the boundaries? He does. Really getting right on top of that curb, though, and using every inch of the track. He sits in 25th. He's about 3.1 seconds off the pole time. And he's got about 2/10 to make up to Simon Doyle now that he's come across and set a time. But this one does not count for Cortina. He is going to park it for this qualifying session. Our pole sitter, can he extend it over those behind him? Because right now, I don't think there's many that are able to challenge. The answer is no. Doesn't count for him. Richard Regan Jr. doesn't improve. Looks like Cervantes does, though. And Cervantes, with some slipstream, goes to 4th.
That is a mega lap for the Whataback Racing driver. Absolutely incredible stuff from Danny Cervantes. I am very, very impressed with that lap, Joe.
And I think that is it. So we already saw Giancarlo come across the line, didn't we? I'm pretty certain. Double checking to see if he did or not. And the 02 right now is within the top 10. Kind of curious to see what he can do as he goes way wide. And even if this was a hot lap, that's definitely not going to be fast for him. So I think that is it for our qualifying session. Indeed, yes, it is. Before we get to the order that we will start with, let's talk about our sponsor for the channel, the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. So Odise Adams Jr. going to be starting from the pole here today, looking to make it back-to-back wins as Kelly Greenhoe will challenge with a very close qualifying time for such a long lap. James Goddard will start from 3rd, and Danny Cervantes in the late stages bumps himself up to 4th. Derek Green starts in 5th as Ian Cabana will be 6th. Giancarlo Lenzi on a good return starts from 7th. Richard Regan Jr. took a bit to get that lap down, but eventually it was worth 8th. Ryan King's mysteriously slow in qualifying today. Starts from 9th, and Michael Chase will be 10th.
Kevin Berquist will be lining up in 11th, followed by Guillaume Petoven with Paulo Coimbra and Brett Karakofe behind them in row 7. Andy Steiber will be 15th, followed by Jose Gonzalez with Ibanji Babinet in 17th and Christian Liziak in 18th. 19th is Andrew Venaro, and Jimmy Richards is going to round out your top 20.
Adam Young starts from 21st, then it's Malcolm Foster in 22nd. Randy Gross, P23, is followed by Simon Doyle in 24th. Anthony Cortina, we watched him cross the line to take the checkers. He'll only start 25th. Daniel Del Busto starts in 26th with Ryan Scott in 27th. Austin Bartlett Chase is on his outside with David Hebert in 29th, and last driver to set a time in 30th was Stacy Hunter. Larson and Duchesne looks like they will likely line up. I see Duchesne out there. Larson doesn't appear to have lined up yet. So 32 cars or 31 cars, depending, are going to be taking the green. How many will take the checkers, though, because there is so many dangers that can take you out. As the engines start to rev and the lights come up, the green flag is out off the line. Adams looks pretty decent, but it's a great start there from Derek Green, and he's already being covered off as Cervantes tries to go down to the inside and defend. Round the outside, Giancarlo Lenzi using momentum well, and he's looking for another one as the two orange cars now go side by side.
Indeed, they do. It's going to be a straight drag race. Here we go. Down the mountain straight. Up front also looks like a little bit of a race as Kelly Greenhoe starting to poke his nose to the inside of Odise Adams Jr.
And decides to back out of it. Adams going to retain the lead into Griffin's Bend. Goddard behind the pair of them. And it's 2 by 2 down in 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. My goodness. And Ryan Kings comes out on top of that as they try to cycle into a single file because it's going to be tough to be side by side here into the cutting.
And I said this is one of those areas you can get a pass done, but it's not necessarily recommended. I wouldn't necessarily try to be going for it here in the early stages of the race. You can see Berquist there just trying to hang it out as long as he can as they work their way through Solman Park.
And he manages to get by Brett in the 57, so that gives Berquist 12th place. So far, so good. Hope I'm not speaking too soon because I haven't seen any major issues through the field, but they still have to get back down the mountain now, up and over Brock's skyline. It's into the S's that has some of the hardest braking zones on the track.
That's some of the hardest braking zones in the world, Joe, with the full weight and gravity of the cars pulling you down the hill and you having to get on the binders. And there we've got an incident. That's the 86 and the 17. I believe that's Austin Bartlett Chase.
And Del Busto is the other one. Oh, we got somebody else at the side of the road. Randy Gross, unfortunately, into the wall. Thankfully, doesn't cause more problems, so looks like everybody's gotten away relatively clean. But here we go. Cervantes fighting with Lenzi. Lenzi looking for 4th, and he's on the outside through the little kink, but now he's going to have the inside into the chase itself. And as they break, he's a little bit more timid than Cervantes. Behind him, Richard Regan Jr. and Derek Green breathing down his neck.
Indeed, and that was really all precipitated by Lenzi taking a big helping of curbing. There you see him trying to push Richard Regan Jr. offline a little bit, and now he almost looks like he's going to go for an attack there on Danny Cervantes, but that causes Lenzi to run wide. Can Regan maybe make an attack now down into hell?
He's looking for it, showing his nose. And behind him, another car poking out. That was Ryan Kings diving to the inside. Nobody makes an attempt at a pass. They're all looking for the slipstream as they start to pick up speed up the mountain straight. Somebody going wide back there in the background.
Yeah, not sure who that was, Joe, but you can just see the draft train here really starting to form. I've got to think that Lenzi may be a little bit of a sitting duck here to Richard Regan Jr. if he wants to go for the move. He's thinking about it as they get their way up into Griffin's Bend, but decides not to go for it. Just keeping everything nice and in line here.
As things switch back now towards the cutting once again. Are they going to play nice? Is this Regan Jr. deciding to try and use the slipstream? Not Kings. Kings is going to slice up the inside of Derek Green. Green's going to lose 2 of them as there goes Michael Chase as well.
And that is the kind of aggression that we are used to seeing out of Ryan Kings. Very controlled, very measured, but aggressive nonetheless, and continues to be side by side here between Green.
Yeah, Green almost lost control of the car, so not only did Chase go by, but now Ian Cabana overtook him. So in the course of a few corners and a single lap, Green's gone down from, I believe, 6th to 10th.
Yeah, he has. And who else is losing time here was Odisse Adams Jr. As they came over the crest of Skyline. He lost about 0.2 of a second. Looks like he's able to gain it back up a little bit here as they work their way down the hill. But definitely an area that he doesn't look as strong. That was a wide line out of Forest Elbow for your leader.
Oh, nowhere near the apex, and look at how much quicker Kelly is. The 12 easily has him outgunned. Didn't even need the slipstream. And as they accelerate on their way towards the chase, I think Greenho's going to have the advantage. If he dares to chop in front, he's fully clear now, but it's going to be tight. Let's see if he tries to defend. There he goes, down to the racing line, and Goddard sizing the pair of them up as they break into the chase. That's the onboard cam of Kelly Greenho, our new leader.
Yeah, very, very good run there for Kelly as he's able to just get that ahead, but he's going to have to be careful. Odisse Adams Jr. is going to get the benefit of the slipstream coming off of Hell Corner and down the mountain straight.
We asked whether or not Richard Regan Jr. was going to sit behind and wait on Lindsay to tow him. The answer is no. You can see he's now ahead as side by side, both in front and behind them. That is Goddard, who's going to try and make a move on Adams, decides to back out of it. And it looks like Chase is ahead of Kings as well. And Lindsay weaving all the way to the inside, trying to break that slipstream.
And Joe, look at the gap that Richard Regan Jr. has already been able to exert over Lindsay. I wonder if Lindsay's got a problem. He's dropping positions like a stone.
Yeah, I think he got some sort of cut course penalty or something. I'm checking to see. Yes, he cut through the exit of the chase. So that's what cost him. He had to give that time back. Thankfully, he did so in time before he had to serve any sort of penalty. Meanwhile, you could see in the foreground of that shot, our leaders, top 5, are split by nothing. There is 1.3 seconds from first to 5th.
Yeah, this is going to be very, very tight, and this is the kind of position that I think these drivers want to be in, Joe. You want to keep yourself in this leading group and be able to set yourself up for the last couple of laps to really try to leapfrog your way forward. You don't need to be too aggressive now, and with one driver not really being able to pull a massive gap away, I think you're relatively content to just stick back in line.
Well, Richard Regan may not have had the best of races at the Nürburgring. Ooh, as we see a little puff of smoke there ahead of him. Oh no, and a bigger bit of smoke. That's gonna be Odisse Adams Jr. Our championship leader is around and into the wall, takes a tow.
Oh my goodness gracious, Skyline claiming its first victim here today. Joe, he just lost it coming over, but the action's not done because Richard Regan Jr. trying to make a little bit of a look there, coming through Forest Elbow on Danny Cervantes.
And yeah, I'm trying to figure out if Cervantes also had some sort of cut course penalty because he slowed very suddenly and he didn't hit the wall on the exit of Forest Elbow. He must have just let him by. So Greenho leads. Goddard is promoted to second. Regan is now into P3 and Cervantes down to 4th. Little wide there for Cervantes, off into the grass. He might lose the slipstream with that one.
And Joe, I went back and took a look at what happened to Danny Cervantes. It wasn't a cut course penalty. What happened was he locked up the left front tire going down into Forest Elbow, and that blunted his momentum coming out of the corner. And so that's what caused him to lose the position.
Coimbra wide coming off of Murray's, and Karakov goes through. Is this going to be Derek Green? Yep, he is also going to manage to overtake. That'll put him back into 10th after he just bled position after position on the opening laps, and he's leading a train of 5 as look at that snake come its way up the mountain straight and weave back and forth. Everybody wanting to be within the slipstream of the car ahead.
Indeed, we got a little bit of side-by-side there between Bergquist and Coimbra as they get ready to break now down into Griffin's Bend. Who's it going to be? Coimbra getting forced a little bit wide. Neither one wanting to give way. They're still going to be side-by-side as they work their way up into the chase.
Paulo's got the inside, but that's not always the best place to be. It is this time. Wow, clearly outbreaks Bergquist. Gonzalez also goes through, but Gonzalez struggles to get the throttle down. Off the corner, Bergquist goes right back.
All right, so Kevin Berquist able to hold on to that position for now. He's going to reset his sights up ahead of him on Coimbra and hope to maybe gain some time up here. It's a little surprising to see Berquist this far down in the order. We're used to seeing him battle for top 5 positions, and seeing him all the way down here in 12th is a bit unorthodox.
Speaking of surprises, I'm looking through the field. I'm kind of surprised we're not seeing more drivers that have managed to have big gains. Usually here, someone will have an unfortunate qualifying or not qualify at all and start to pick them off one by one, and into the wall goes Berquist as he overshoots the exit of the Dipper. How damaged is he is the question. Checking, I'm not seeing a meatball flag next to him right now, so I think he's okay on that. Oh, and behind him, that was a huge thwack for Povin in the 649.
Yeah, it really was. You can see that mirror displaced. I don't think he'll have any toe damage, but it'll certainly hurt him nonetheless, as there we've got a little bit of maybe side-by-side drivers thinking about it. This is for the lead. This is Goddard, Greenhoe, and Regan.
James just overtook Kelly, so up to the top spot for the 420 car, and Greenhoe gets demoted back down to where he began. Richard Regan Jr., one of our harder chargers, he's gone up 5 positions here, trying to make that 6 as he cuts back underneath through Murray's corner. He's got a good launch, but does he really want to pass before the mountain straight?
I would think if he can, he's going to want to try to stay in behind here as Ryan Kings sets the fastest lap of the race out of 7th place right now.
Indeed. In fact, looks like Kings has now bumped himself up into 5th even. And coming back up the mountain straight once again, Greenhoe, Regan, both following behind Goddard. They've got the slipstream. Kelly is going to pull up side by side, but it's on the outside of Griffin's Bend. A little bit of a nose ahead. Outside is not usually quick. Oh, they come together. Greenhoe tries to keep it out of the barriers, just barely does so. He is extremely lucky as that was inches away from the tire barrier. Without momentum, Cervantes easily overtakes.
I don't know how he managed to hold on to that and not make contact with that outside wall. That was incredible stuff from Kelly Greenhoe.
Falls all the way down to 4th, so Kings catches up. And in fact, I think that little bit of side-by-side racing allowed 3rd, 4th, or 3rd and what was 5th allowed to catch up. So we might have another 5-car battle for the lead like we saw a little bit earlier on. And we're just about 12 minutes into this race.
Yeah, indeed. And so this is about the opening now of the pit stop window, is when I anticipate drivers may be opting to come in here to try to pick up a little bit of an advantage. But the one problem is you really don't want to come in and out of the pits without having somebody else around you and lose the big benefit of the draft down the Conrad and Mountain Straights. Cervantes
is slow. Did he hit the wall as well? I'm checking here to see if he had an issue down through the Dipper, because that was extremely slow. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. So, real strange stuff here from Cervantes. He falls back to 5th, allows Kings and Greenhoe to keep going. Meanwhile, this is Lindsay, who's battling with Chase. Chase is going to be able to sneak on by, so that's 6th place for him. And I thought I heard Ryan Kings maybe ask if Kelly Greenhoe wanted to work together.
Yeah, I think he said, let's work together. I'm going to bump draft, which is a thing that we've seen happen. Oh, but they may not need to do that. That's James Goddard having a problem coming out of the chase, and now he is going to get passed by Kelly Greenhoe. Ryan Kings is going to have to slot in behind him.
This is the biggest gap we've seen for some time for the lead. Regan has himself 1.5 seconds. He is going to have to put his foot down and hope that they cannot catch them. As, Gonzalez and Coimbra are in a pit lane. This looks to be a scheduled stop and not a penalty.
And those are teammates, Joe. So clearly doing what I talked about, being able to pit together so you have a drafting buddy. It's almost like you're drafted at a super speedway around here. You do not want to be stuck in clean air coming down these long straightaways. I like this strategy out of the 83 and the 65.
A little look from Cervantes. Thought maybe he wanted to hang out behind Kings, but then now he's on the attack again. I cannot figure out what is going on with the 25 in this race. But we'll try and see if we can suss it out as they come down into the cutting once more. Everybody trying to carry as much speed as they can. It looks like behind them, Chase is a little bit slow. There goes Lindsay trying to see if he can get on the attack, but he's got to watch out because the 57 is right there to snatch up a spot.
Yes, he is, and you've got to be very, very careful trying to go too wide through this area of Solomon and McPhillamy Park. As I said, the weight transfer laterally here can really throw off the car. Lindsay doing a good job to not be too aggressive going into the corners. That's one of the big areas right there, right off of McPhillamy. Everybody doing a good job as now they work their way down over Skyline.
You say not too aggressive, but he's been practically pushing Chase through some of these turns. He's getting right on that bumper, and Chase barely holds onto it as cutting around the outside. It looks like Karakov was not content to sit back in 8th. He wanted to attack in one of the most dangerous parts of this track, but it didn't work out. Now as they launch out of Forest Elbow, Lindsay is the one with a slipstream.
Yeah, and he got a good run there off of the corner. Took a little bit of a later apex to be able to give him the best run that he could get. He's closing in. It's under 0.07 of a second right now. Is he going to bump draft or is he going to go for the move? That's the real question. I'll tell you who is going to go for the move. That's Karakov.
So let's see if he can get by both. He's got a nose ahead, under braking. It looks like Brett might have this. It's going to be close as they almost come together. And Lindsay's going to take advantage of the braking that Chase has to do. That's going to put Lindsay up into 7th. Now he's got to go after Brett. And, oh, is Greenhoe in? Yes, Kelly Greenhoe is pitting.
Yeah, Greenhoe down pit lane, and he was running in a little bit of an island unto himself, so I understand that decision from him to come down here. Now, we should see pit stops continuing to fire off until about, I would say, the 12-minute to go mark, Joe.
Ooh, coming off the corner, Lindsay's still fighting hard for this one. And he is bump drafting. I think he is trying to see if he can push his way forward with the pair of them because he can see the gap that they're losing to the leaders. Kings has been trying to catch Regan Jr. It's down to 1.1 seconds right now, but it was back up to 1.5 when they crossed the line. And there you see the battle between Cervantes and Goddard, which is for 3rd place. Goddard has, I think, been in pretty much every spot within the top 5 at this point.
Yeah, he really has. He's just ping-ponging all around those top 5 positions. Now trying to catch back in on Danny Cervantes, and this is the area of the track for... Oh, that's a wide run for Goddard. Barely missing the wall.
These guys are leaving nothing out there. That is right up to the edge of the track every single time, it seems like. Coming into McPhillamy Park now, Regan's got it back up to about 1.4 seconds, and King's not sure that he can hang. Lindsay here is continuing to try and push Brett around the circuit. He backs off, thankfully, into Skyline. Chase just behind him, watching along with Derek Green, who's unfortunately lost a number of positions. Ian Cabana has as well. Both of them are down 3. Let's see what starts to unfold as we hit the Conrad straight, and it looks like Kings is down to a 2nd behind Regan, so he has gained a little bit this lap.
And that's exactly what he needed to do. He'll get a whiff of the slipstream, and he's getting more and more of it as that gap is coming down under a second right now. So that is a good run for Ryan Kings. He's just got to try to maximize here and not let that gap build up to over a second again.
If I know Richie, he's probably trying his darndest to keep that slipstream from happening. He wants to have a nice, clean race to the finish and not have to worry about the hassle of anybody chasing him, as Lindsay has hassled 6th place out of 5th place, actually, out of Brett's hands. So he's now up there. And it looks like both Regan and Kings are in. No, it's Regan and Cervantes.
Looks like Giancarlo Lenzi and Ian Cabana as well, all opting to come down in. Andy Steiber, another one who is choosing to make the pit stop here.
So this, oh, did Green miss the, something happened to Green here. We need a replay. Chase and Karakov had a problem coming into Murray's corner. I saw him slow. I thought maybe he missed the pit entry somehow. But just going to run into the back of Chase. Chase keeps it from hitting the wall, thankfully, but both of them lost touch with Karakov because of that.
And I think this is just a matter of misjudgment. Oh, he touched the grass, Joe. That's what it was, as he tried to poke his nose to the inside, show his nose a little bit, moved back onto the racing line, and as he did, that right rear tire made contact with the grass, that ice grass, as our fellow commentator Michael Johnson likes to refer to it as, and there is just no grip there at all, and so his braking was completely washed out.
Interesting development. Cervantes a second quicker in his pit stall compared to Regan Jr. He's caught up to his teammate. So let's see. Or actually, you know what? I need to double check, see if they're teammates. I might be incorrect on that one. Looks like we've got some black flags as well. Venaro. Giancarlo Lenzi, unfortunately, has got a black flag. And Ryan Scott has got one. I wonder if some of those are pit speeding penalties, because Lenzi was just in and out.
Yeah, I think the timing of that really suggests that for Lenzi in particular, that is going to be a pit lane speeding penalty. As we watch there, the 21 getting himself around Ryan Scott. That was Adam Young with a good move to the outside of Griffin's Bend.
And Scott's one of those that has the black flag, so he's going to have to come in and serve that penalty here. 15 minutes left to go. Curious which of those black flags are for the incident limit, because man, you got to be really pushing here and flirting with disaster for that to finally reach 13 incidents and still have a whole car. Meanwhile, down into the chase, this is Lesiak and Bergquist, the 64, trying to take 5th place, but they both need to take their pit stops into the braking zone. Not close enough to go by Christian.
No, I think Bergquist may have backed that up a little bit, although he gets a much better run out of the chase. Let's see if any of them fade to the left. Little bit of a brake check there. I like that from Lesiak, just kind of letting him know he's coming in. Derek Green also coming down pit lane as well.
Interestingly, a few drivers are not pitting. Goddard, Karakov, they stay out. Chase stays out. Bergquist stays out. So there's a few that have saved quite a bit of fuel here. Looks like Babinet also did in the 32. Malcolm Foster stayed out. Duchesne did. And that is it, I believe, of those who have managed to get to lap 9.
Yeah, a lot of drivers, you really can save fuel around this circuit if you're tucked up behind in the draft like that.
That's Kings. That's Kings, who just emerged in front of Regan. He jumped him in the pit stops, 3 seconds shorter for the 43. Sorry to interrupt, but Ryan Kings has pulled a massive gap and overtaken through the pit sequence.
All right, now that is great news for Ryan Kings, but here's the problem. A 3-second faster pit stop. Looking at that, there are drivers that have been able to do sub-16s here. Looking at Coimbra Gonzalez in particular, he's just got to hope that he didn't underfuel the car. That would be my only concern here for Ryan Kings.
So Kings now effectively holds the lead, even though he's running in 8th. Once the other cars in front of him pit, we expect that he is going to retake P1. Goddard could potentially jump him in the pit stops, but that's looking unlikely right now. There is the 420 car who flies down into Forest Elbow. Surely he's got to pit this time. I can't imagine he's going to be able to go another lap around. Did he just hit the wall?
Yeah, his tail end got a little bit squiggly there, and he may have made just the briefest of contacts with the wall there on the exit of Forest Elbow. I don't think it blunted his momentum too much. His top speeds still look pretty good here as he gets going.
Yeah, I'm going back and checking it. He literally had about an inch between his rear fender and the wall. So, yeah, just barely making that one stick. So he's hustling. He is not letting himself rest on his laurels here in these final stages of the race for the MX5 Cup Series in the Precision Racing League. And there, yeah, he's pitting in. Karakov is going to follow him. Michael Chase, I expect, will too. Got to practice that pit entry, making sure that he doesn't blow that chicane that takes you down to your service.
Yeah, indeed. Very tricky pit entry here at Mount Panorama, but he's able to do it. Good job there for Karakov. Looks like he was able to close up a lot under braking into the entrance of the pit lane, and he may get a little bit of a benefit from that, may put himself in some good contention here.
So Kings and Regan now go by the pit entry. Goddard's in his pit stall. It's counting up. Yeah, I think Kings is going to have him easily, honestly. Goddard only up to about 11. And we're looking for 16-second stops. 17, 18, it's a bit long, 19, 20, extremely long for James Goddard. What happened there? 23 seconds for the 420 car. He should have been out and fighting for a top 5. Instead, he's falling all the way to 9th.
Absolute disaster there for him. He must have just miscalculated the fuel. But, Joe, I want to point out here the 57, Brett Karakov, had a 10-second stop, and he now finds himself in 4th place as a result.
That seems a bridge too far to me, even if he was riding in somebody's slipstream. 6 seconds quicker than anybody else. He's got to have short fueled it too much. I think he's coming in again.
I have to agree with you there, but we'll have to see if he knows something that we don't here. Right now, finds himself slotted in behind Danny Cervantes and just ahead of Kelly Greenhoe.
No, so with the pit stops over, the order is Kings, Regan, Cervantes, Karakov, and Greenhoe, but we think the 57 there in 4th place needs to come back in for fuel because a massively short stop seems incredibly infeasible in this series. 10 minutes left on the clock. Kings has lost the 1.3 second lead that he had when he came out of the pit lane. Regan chasing him. Cervantes is as well. Oh, but Cervantes is slow once again. Wonder if he's got maybe an H pattern shifter and he's just missing shifts.
That could explain it. These cars are sequential gearbox now, so you don't need to use the H pattern, but that has put up a big, big gap. Karakov now up ahead of Cervantes, but it's a 2-second gap between them and Richard Regan Jr.
Yeah, Cervantes slowed down Conrad. He's all the way to 5th. Regan and Kings, who amongst them is willing to fight? Because they're going to lose time if they do so. And that's going to mean that they'll lose time to Greenhoe and Karakov. They'll find themselves battling not just with 2 cars for the lead, but potentially 3 or 4. No attack this time from the 46.
Oh, and that's the 57. That is Karakov coming in. So you were right, Joe. Definitely underfueled the car. He's got to come in for a splash and dash.
So Brett taking more fuel now. Oh, and Regan just took the lead. An attack on Kings, and he is through. Now, that's an interesting spot to do it. Kings should be able to easily go right back by unless he wants to be behind him.
Oh, he is bump drafting him here down the mountain straight, which tells me that I don't think he necessarily wants to try to get a move on. He wants to just get as much distance between himself and Kelly Greenhoe and leave this to be a 2-car battle going into the final couple of laps.
I got to say, this race is starting to look like an incredible rarity for Bathurst. We've had a single DNF out of 31 starters. Del Busto in the 86 is the only one right now. Everybody else is still out there running.
That's really remarkable, Joe. I mean, I briefly mentioned at the top of the show the possibility of a full track blockage around here coming up and over the hill. And we've been able to avoid an even minor blockage. Nobody really having problems. Odise Adams Jr. obviously having that little spin, but a quick toe, and nobody else getting collected. And it's really a testament to these drivers just how clean they've been racing here today.
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating for the 22. Because Adams probably thought, okay, surely I need to get back out there and try and race my way forward, and people will drop like flies. I'll get plenty of positions. Well, that was the first car that he has passed this whole race since he had his incident. Austin Bartlett Chase that he just went by, and he's got about 5 more seconds to get to the next one. The 71 there you see is Stacy Hunter. So it's been a long and slow road for Odise Adams Jr. after that incident as we come back higher in the field and down through Skyline.
Indeed, and this is the 57. This is Karakov as he works his way down, starting to build a little bit of a gap between himself and Malcolm Foster. Remember, he had to make that quick splash and dash, miscalculating the fuel, but he certainly has the speed on these drivers. The bad news for Karakov is that he has about 7 seconds to make up to Guillaume Petoven up ahead of him.
As see a little bit of swapping back and forth for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Looks like Coimbra, Cabana, Gonzalez, and Goddard all fighting with one another. Goddard, remember, having an unusually long stop, is now trying to attack on cars that he should be pretty easily quicker than. And as they come down the main straight towards Hell, not close enough to go by Gonzalez this time. Gonzalez instead poking his nose on Cabana. And now up the mountain straight, the slipstream battle starts all over again.
Yes, it does indeed. And so this is going to be a question of if you want to poke your nose out, well, that's easily answered there by the 83 poking his nose around, trying to see what he can get.
So up the inside into Griffin's Bend. Gonzalez looks like he might have the spot, but he's going to have to be brave on the brakes, and he's not compared to Cabana, but Cabana doesn't have the grip on that off-camber corner. Goddard's going to try to take advantage now.
Yes, he is, but he's going to have to go the long way around the cutting. We've talked about how that is feasible, but not always the best way to do it. There they go through the corner. Goddard trying to hold it out. Ooh, car gets a little bit sideways, and he's got to catch it.
Whew, this race is not going to be over until that checkered flag flies. Sounds obvious, but you got to remember that we cannot count on this finishing order staying as it is now. It's so easy to make race-ending mistakes, and look at the battle for the first spot. Cervantes. Oh, no, that's not Cervantes. That's Greenhoe. Yes, it's Greenhoe, excuse me, in third place. The 12 has caught them.
Yes, he has, and crucially, coming off of Forest Elbow, he's only about 9/10 of a second back, so that means he's going to be able to pick up the slipstream. And also, crucially here, Ryan King's not directly up behind Richard Regan Jr., so he's not going to be able to employ that bump draft to try to push the two of them ahead and pick up more momentum. This is really equalizing this battle out and bringing all three drivers closer together.
So 2-minute 32s for most drivers, 2-minute 34s, 33s. And we are 2 laps to go then, definitely at this lap by. And Richard Regan Jr. holds the track advantage right now with the lead. He's in the position he wants to be, we think, but will that be the case on the last lap? Will Kings manage to snipe him with that slipstream?
Well, if I'm Richard Regan Jr. here at this point, there may be a little bit of an impetus to make a slight mistake, let's say, to allow Ryan Kings to get on by, because I don't think I want to be leading coming off of Forest Elbow on the final lap. I want to be able to use the slipstream. I want to be able to attack going down into the chase. I do not want to be the car ahead. It's a little bit like oval racing in that regard, Joe.
I think we may have just had our second DNF. Austin Bartlett Chase had an incident through the dipper, had to come down pit lane with a meatball flag. And with only these 3 minutes left, I'm not anticipating he'll be able to get back out in time to see the finish. Meanwhile, what does Greenhoe do in this situation? Does he sit back and watch them both fight? Does he go on the aggressive and try to attack both of them at once? There's just so many variables in this, and hard to say what is the optimal solution. Up and over Reed Park once again. Regan leads Kings, leads Greenhoe.
Indeed, and this is really where the chess match starts to come into play. Greenhoe fully on the back of these two now. Ryan King's closing in a little bit more on Richard Regan Jr. This is closer than we saw him, but he loses a little bit of time over Skyline, able to immediately gain it back up as they dive their way down through the S's and into the Dipper.
Going to see the white flag, but what will that mean for them? As they break into Forest Elbow, little wide for Regan, and King's right up against the wall. In fact, I almost think he brushed it. Greenhoe is trying to catch up in that slipstream as they pick up speed once again, and it's already a couple miles an hour faster for Ryan Kings as he inches forward on the number 46. Is this where he attacks? No, he's going to lift.
He's going to lift, but I can tell you, Joe, I went back and took a little bit of a replay, but here comes a look to the inside. That's going to be Ryan Kings later on the brakes. Oh, and there's contact!
And he goes off, and Greenhoe has to avoid. Richard Regan Jr. is looking like he might be scot-free from here. Kings falling all the way to 4. Cervantes inherited the podium.
And that means he's got a 2.5-second advantage, does Richard Regan Jr. over Kelly Greenhoe. And so that means that should be smooth sailing. He is out of the draft range. He's just got to complete another 3.8 miles.
Well, it's sad to see it come down to that, but you can't deny that Regan and Kings fought hard for this one. And it was a strategic race, with Kings managing to outsmart him in the pit stops as well to get that track advantage. Gave it up, let Regan ahead, tried to attack, but it all fell apart there just in front of the white flag. Behind them, looks like we're seeing a few drivers with quite a bit of gains. Jose Gonzalez, by the way, I don't think we mentioned this, up 10 spots into that 6th position. Could have more, could have less, though. Here comes Cabana up the inside, looking for both. Is he too deep into the corner? No, he makes it. What a move by Ian.
That was some heads-up stuff there from Ian Cabana, and it doesn't look like it's over there because James Goddard, trying to piece his way through, thought about going to the inside there of the cutting on Coimbra, but not able to make it work. He'll get another shot at the apple, though, coming off of Forrest's elbow.
Ever since the pit stop, Goddard has been mired in this group and just can't seem to get back to where he began this race. He's going to lose 4 positions if he finishes where he is right now. Up towards McPhillamy Park. There's not many places for these guys to go. They've got to stay single file unless they are truly desperate.
Yes, they do. Don't go for it. Okay, everybody stand in line.
I think Richard Regan has hit the wall. He hit the wall out of the dipper. I'm not sure how slow he's going to be. And Cabana's had a wreck as well. That was also in the dipper. People pushing a little too hard. Oh no, and he's causing a massive pileup as drivers come into him. Oh, that is disappointing at the very end of this race. That's going to cost many drivers positions here at the very end. Richard Regan Jr., though, we saw this one come to blows for a couple cars here on the final lap of round 2. Well, we're not sure if this is going to affect the result, but Richard Regan Jr. for now will be your winner as he comes around to the line for race number 2 in the PRL MX5 Cup Series.
A really great race there from Richard Regan Jr. Good to see that crossover. We're used to seeing him on the oval side. He is going to take it, but we've got a fierce battle here behind.
Cervantes getting 3rd. Coimbra trying to attack on Goddard. It doesn't look like he's got it. Maybe he does as he tries to out-accelerate him, but he runs out of straightaway. And Gonzalez is going to finish in 7th. Meanwhile, Steiber, who was the one we saw missing his front, is going to wind up in 8th. Chase is going to come home 9th with Bergquist in the 10th position. Derek Green had a black flag at the end. I think Simon Doyle has got one there as well. So a couple drivers going over the incident limit going to be given a time penalty.
And so that's going to affect the final finishing order there, but at least nothing now for that number 46 machine of Richard Regan Jr. That is a race well won for him.
Absolutely, and the long lap time means that we've got, I believe, 27 cars. They're going to be finishing on the lead lap here. It looks like most of them are just finishing now. That's going to give us a chance to go through our finishing order for the day. Richard Regan Jr., your victor ahead of Kelly Greenhoe, as Danny Cervantes finishes in 3rd, and Ryan Kings, who had a shot at the victory close to the end of this race, came to contact with Richard and wound up 4th. James Goddard was P5 as Coimbra was 6th, and it was Jose Gonzalez up 9 spots to get 7th. Andy Steiber was 8th, and Michael Chase 9th. Kevin Bergquist rounds out your top 10.
Derek Green came home in 11th, followed by Guillaume Doven in 12th, and Christian Leziak in 13th. Brett Karakov was 14th, followed by Malcolm Foster, with Jimmy Richards and Danny Duchesne behind them. Adam Young was 18th, with David Hebert 19th, and Andrew Venaro rounding out your top 20.
From there, 21st went to Randy Gross. Giancarlo Lenzi, unfortunately, with that black flag, fell all the way to 22nd. Odise Adams Jr. Could only get up to 23rd. Still a good climb there late in the race, considering how far he was down with just about 3 laps to go. Stacy Hunter was 24th, and Ryan Scott was 25th. And it's Simon Doyle, P26, Ian Cabana, 27th, and Anthony Cortina in 28th. This is getting into the lap down cars. Babinet was 29th. Bartlett Chase at DNF along with Del Busto. From what we can tell, the only 2 that we saw with a DNF today. But let's see who we can get to talk to here, as we do actually have Giancarlo Lenzi ready to chat with us. He may have finished a little farther down, but he's here. So let's give a little bit of a talk with him. Giancarlo, great pace in qualifying, but it looks like maybe track limits bit you in the race. What caused that black flag?
Yeah, I got a little greedy. Was having a good run. I forget with who. I think it was Ian Cabana. But just tried breaking a little later. Didn't work for me, and I just had to go off. Got the black flag. Didn't get it down before the line, or even soon enough before the straight. Caused me a lot of positions, and then I got a speeding in pits during the pit cycle. So not my race tonight. Need a crew chief to help me out.
That's understandable. Even still, though, it's good to see that the pace is there, qualifying 7th. Again, like I said, very great job on that. So positives to take. How do you feel heading off as we go to the Red Bull Ring for the 3rd race?
Super excited. I was not excited with Nordschleife because it was not a track that I practiced often, especially in this car. And so Bathurst, I was doing some practice for Advanced Mazda Series, so I got a little bit there. And Red Bull Ring, I had some amazing races in AMC last season, so I'm super excited for it. A lot of these guys are pretty quick. They're really, cool under pressure, so I'm excited to see what comes up.
Well, that was Giancarlo Lenzi, who wound up 22nd in the end, but obviously showing good pace, as DJ has now caught up with our winner, Richard Regan Jr., to see how it went for him.
Richard, you had a couple of scares in there, but overall a great race and a great charge through the field.
Yeah, it was a fun race. I don't know what that move from Ryan was. It would have been nice to finish that cleaner, but it is what it is. But yeah, I didn't get much practice with these cars, so Danny was helping me a little bit. Gotta give thanks to him and in the Wadaback guys, and Adam Young for helping me out too, helping me with strategy and stuff. This car is super fun. I'm just looking forward to running the rest of the season.
Well, I know we're looking forward to it as well, and I obviously didn't have the best qualifying out there today. So what was your kind of mentality coming into it? Were you in full attack mode, or were you going to let everything come to you?
It was kind of a little bit of a both. So I didn't have that good of a qualifying time, but what me and Danny were doing was we'd do a lap where someone else would draft up on somebody, and then we'd switch for the next lap. And unfortunately, every time it was my turn to draft onto him, I would always make a mistake. So that lap time I set was without draft, so it wasn't horrible. So I knew I had okay pace. There's definitely a few corners I need to work on. I don't have much experience at this track either. But yeah, definitely fun and definitely on max attack at the end there.
Well, fantastic. And speaking of max attack, it's a place that you can get some very good attacks in, where we go to next week at the Red Bull Ring. Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, the Red Bull Ring's super fun. A lot of straightaways. It's going to be a draft fest in these cars, so I'm excited to see what that brings.
Well, I know I am as well. But anybody you'd like to thank for this victory here today, Richard?
Yeah, Danny Cervantes, Adam Young, all the Wadaback guys, Brad. I know he didn't make it today. Mark didn't make it today. You guys at GSRC for putting on the broadcasts on all the PRL series, and everyone at PRL. Also, got to give a shout out to JG Photography for coming on board this season.
Well, thank you so much. That was Richard Regan Jr., your winner here today. Joe?
That'll take us to Danny Cervantes, who finished 3rd out there, but had some odd moments that we weren't totally sure about. Danny, we saw you slowing down, or looked like you were slowing down on some of the straights, but we couldn't find wall contact or a slowdown penalty. Were you trying to let people by, or what was going on?
You can thank Fanatec for all that because I was having issues with my wheels shifting and stuff. So, they make awesome equipment that, tends to misshift when you do quick corners. But yeah, it was nothing with contact or anything. It was just equipment issues.
Ah, okay. So that solves the mystery for us. Knowing that makes the third place even more impressive with what you were dealing with. If you didn't have that, do you feel like you could have kept up with Richard and maybe challenged him for the victory?
Yeah, these cars are definitely, draft based, especially with the big Conrad straight at the back. So once I had that last issue and I was behind the second half, it was game over. There was no way I was catching back up. I felt like, if I was up there, me and Rich, my teammate, we could have definitely defended better up front, and we possibly could have gotten the 1-2.
Well, congratulations on a podium. This is certainly going to help Whataback quite a bit in the points all. Anybody you want to thank for today's spraying of the champagne?
Obviously, Fanatec, for that equipment they provide. I'd like to thank you guys for putting on a great podcast. Rich being my teammate for this season, and also all the Whataback guys, and the league for putting on a great series, with fair, clean racing.
That was Danny Cervantes, your third place finisher here at Bathurst for the MX5 Cup Series. We're going to take a short break. Stick around, though, because we've got the GT3 Sprint Series at Zolder in just a few moments.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to the Precision Racing League. We are now here at Zolder in Belgium for the GT3 Sprint Series. It's the second round, and this is a track with a lot of history, so why don't we take a glance at our track guide. Welcome to Zolder, a temporary home for the Belgian Grand Prix in the 70s and 80s. In present day, it's mainly used for GT and lower-level formula racing. The track sits in the northeast corner of the country near Hasselt, nestled right up against the Albert Canal. The two raceable layouts are essentially the same, save for the tightness of the Jackie Ick chicane. Both are just under 2.5 miles and have 10 turns. While the track had some sadly infamous moments for Formula One, it remains a popular venue. Its most notable feature is the plethora of chicanes that scatter the lap. The slowdown penalties drivers receive for cutting the course at them can tend to be race-defining. But more worrisome are the monstrously large curbs parked at the apexes that have been known to tear apart wings and suspensions. Passing tends to be difficult, with only 2 spots offering out braking zones that aren't into chicanes. The Boulderberg hairpin is the easier of the two, while Erst is a medium-speed, downhill, off-camber 90-degree turn. To say it proves troublesome to get right, even when not in a battle, is an understatement. While the lap opens up with many of those swift, wide-radius corners, the rest of the turns are almost all hard braking zones. High-powered cars with little downforce do need to be careful between the Kleine chicane and Butte, because there's a large crest that can catch you out. Winning here will require precision and patience. Belgian fans may have the more famous Spa to choose from, but you can't go wrong with the consistently good action this track puts forward. There you see a little bit about here at Zolder. DJ, how is it going to be with GT3 cars instead of the old Formula One cars that used to race here?
Well, Joe, what it really means is that overtaking is going to be an absolute premium around here. It is going to be very, very tricky to try to get by another car. You may see a little bit of passing going down into the first corner. You may see some aggressive stuff going down into the Kleine chicane, or maybe even down into Bouldersburg. But at the end of the day, this is all going to be about forcing a mistake out of the driver in front of you. That is going to be the most surefire way to try to get on by.
Now, we've had a single race already, so the order is pretty much how it finished, with Horvath, your current championship leader, Becker, Espina, Pavolano, and Brisson rounding out your top 5 of the drivers' standings. We'll see if that shuffles around today. But what about the team standings?
Joe, in that team standings, it's SRT Esports Blue holding a 4-point advantage over SDS Racing Team. Very, very close all the way through there with SimCube, YS Motorsports White, and Lunatic Martin Sports Racing, all within 10 points of first place.
As for the event today, it's a little bit different from what you saw with the MX-5s. It's 5 minutes longer, 40-minute race, but same thing. They still need a pit stop for fuel. Also open setup, and also the same penalties at 13 incidents and 17 incidents, as well as the bonus points that you see there at the bottom. Starting order for today, with qualifying already done, has Devin Horvath on the pole. It'll be Drew Becker in second position, with Michael Pavolano in third. After that, Kiel Spalding was P4, followed by Tommy Brisson in fifth. Roy Brown will be P6, with Colin McKenzie on the inside of the next row. Ethan Tavitas starts 8th. Row 5 has Rob Campbell and Luke Davis.
In 11th, it's going to be Miguel Fonseca, followed by Ryan Pucto with Miguel Fonseca, then Ryan Burdick and Nicholas Sepultulis there in 14th. Lucio Vargas will line up to the inside of row 8, followed by Caleb Lemon with Dale Peterson and Corey Precker in 18th. 19th will be Brett Thurman, and Blake Ziti rounds out your top 20.
21st goes to Paul Espina, then it's Sean Carmody, 22nd. Eric Dubé in 23rd. Nicholas Matthews, P24. Quarter century mark goes to Cody Hatch, with Alan Roth in 26. Inside the next row, Glenn Vonko, Neil Alexander flanking him. Alex Wright starts from 30th, and then it's Andrew Ellis in Alex Wright in 29th, and Ellis in 30th, rather.
In 31st, it's Christopher Rhines, followed by Nico Zanadakis, with Robert Gall and Baron Hilton in 34th. Ryan Luna will be to the inside of row 18, followed by John Barry, with Jim Fitzpatrick and David Morse behind them. Brian Hoskins is 39th, and Jeremy Durbin is in 40th place.
Got a few cameras as well to show us their perspective in this race. Corey Precker, going to be from the mid-pack in 18th here today, showing us his perspective. And we've also got Miguel Fonseca back with us once again. He's starting from 12th place today. Devin Horvath from on the pole. Let's see what he can do. Wow, okay. He's going to be running from a green screen. Wonder what he's got going on behind him then. And we've also got Nicholas Salaputis here today. And he is going to be starting in the 14th position. And Drew Becker also showing up today in the second position. So front row is completely represented here today. Just about ready to go with pretty good track conditions at 78 degrees Fahrenheit for our drivers. Should be nice and cool, but not too cold for them to try and get them up to temperature. But the Porsche pace car is about to peel off, and then Horvath will have control of the field. Coming out of that last X chicane, he accelerates early. Green flag is out. The Ferrari leads the way. Pabolano slots in behind them as they pick up speed coming down into Erst. This is going to be a tricky one. And good exit there from Becker, but not able to get past him. Looking farther back down the field, and no incidents into the first corner.
No, looks like everybody's nice and through and easy, but Becker really starting to apply some pressure here to Devin Horvath, trying to see if he can force an error early on out of that Ferrari.
Back onto the back stretch now as Horvath holds track position. Little bit of a poke there from Becker. Wanted to try and see if he can make the leader waver a little bit, but these are going to be the big talking point, DJ. Those chicanes with those big sausage curbs, I expect them to cause all sorts of drama.
Indeed, Joe, and it's not like you're running around here in a single-seater where those curbs can actually break the suspension of these cars, but what they can really do is unsettle them, and I think we've had our first victim of them there in the form of Blake Ziti.
Indeed. I think he was racing side by side and wound up spinning it, coming off the corner, goosing it too hard. As, down into Boulder Burgar spelled, it looks like that is Spalding who is around. Doesn't hit anybody, I think. But he comes back on at a very awkward place, just finds some space, which is impressive, and it's going to slot into 20 seconds.
Yeah, indeed it is. That was a very, very rough run there from him. As you saw him be able to get back onto the track, he is very lucky that he didn't hit anything.
So up at the front, Horvath still ahead of Becker with Pabolano in third, and they're starting to pull away from everybody. Brisson is massively far behind in the 13 car. It's already 4 seconds difference.
And I'm not entirely surprised by that, Joe. That Mercedes that Tommy Brisson is driving is known to be a very, very big understeer machine. And at a track like this where you really need a pointy car, one that you can kind of dance over the curves with, I'm not surprised that we're seeing that Mercedes holding some people back.
Through the Kleine chicane once again, it looks like Becker is still showing strong. Closes in a little bit. Wonder if that BMW will have something to fight with over the Ferrari. You would expect the Ferrari, speaking of different car makes and their advantages, DJ, I would expect the Ferrari to be one of the better ones, with it being just a very balanced car.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. This is going to be Ferrari home track. The BMW, not nearly as strong as it was last season, but still a very, very powerful car. The one car that I would be very concerned about running around here, though, that's the Audi. That Audi is notorious for not liking curbs. It can get very, very unsettled, and whenever that thing hits a curb, it can really get thrown for a loop.
Ooh, the 87 got turned around, and that's causing all sorts of problems. Look at this. And then somehow they get through that little weaving chicane out of the Boulderberg hairpin. It's not over as Eric Dubé is going to try. And somebody goes off course, outbrakes himself, trying to figure out who that is. That's Carmody, I think.
Yeah, it is indeed. It almost looked like he took the line going straight into pit lane there, and that's indeed what he's going to do.
Well, he hit the wall, so I wouldn't be surprised if he had quite a bit of damage. Well, my goodness. That was an exciting couple of corners. And yeah, we're getting word that the 40 has a meatball. That is indeed Carmody there that you see on your screen.
Yes, it is. So he's going to come down, try to get a little bit of that damage repaired as we focus back out on track. Tommy Brisson doing a good job of holding off Roy Brown here. He's got the gap up to about 0.7 of a second.
So starting to put his foot down. The car's coming into its own. Oh, Eric Dubé had another problem. Second within a lap, spun it off of Bianchi and is now stationary on the edge of the track. Thankfully, I think everybody's able to get around. Oh, somebody else is off, though. That's Brian Hoskins. Was this related? No, it was not. Hoskins got hit around by Ziti, it looks like.
And Ziti on a recovery drive as well. So a lot of kerfluffles happening there in the opening sector of this lap. That's the fastest part of the track. And I'm not entirely surprised that we're seeing some drivers come together. But here they come breaking down into Jackie Ickx, seeing if there's anything to be had. I'm very impressed here with Brisson. He's not able to keep up with the likes of Pavolano, Becker, and Horvath, but he is holding his own in that Mercedes.
Yeah, Roy Brown has not been able to close in like he wants to. In fact, Roy's maybe a little bit more in defense now because that's McKenzie behind him. Oh, as we got another slow one. Is that Hilton?
Yes, it is, Joe, and I think there's some pretty heavy damage to the left side of that car.
I'm checking to see. He didn't hit anything. He pulled off the track. I wonder if that's another case of having equipment issues, because he's still kind of slowly puttering along. So the car's still under power, and I'm not seeing damage on it. So yeah, he must just be experiencing something that went awry, unless maybe he didn't put his race fuel in and ran out of fuel.
It's a very distinct possibility. It's an easy mistake to make. I know I've done it. So we focus here on the battle. That is Tavitas holding off Miguel Fonseca in the McLaren. Tavitas a little bit wide through the Villeneuve chicane, but looks like he's able to hold it together.
Yeah, that's Fonseca there, one of our onboards. And one of my favorites, the McLaren, very partial to that car. It's the oldest GT3 here on the iRacing service, but still, to me, one of the prettiest. And as he goes to break down into the Ickx chicane, he's not close enough to try and get up beside Tavitas. Oh, it's a great exit, though, there from the pink 666. Let's see if he tries it into Erst.
Let's see, indeed, as we've also got a massive schmozzle here with Robert Go. Looked like everybody coming together in the back, barely able to get their way through Jackie Ickx.
Yeah, Campbell there side by side on screen. That's with Roy Brown, who's inside, so he's on the attack. Campbell going to try to go the long way around through Bianchi. This is a fast right-hander, and somehow, oh, as they bang doors coming off the corner, Campbell's still going to get it.
Nice move there from Rob Campbell to be able to make that move work. Little bit of thinking about it there in the back for Miguel Fonseca. Ooh, that's a good run there through Kleina for Fonseca and the McLaren behind him. That looks like Luke Davis and Ryan Patel trying to go at it.
Yeah, the 14 almost able to get by Davis, but not quite. Fonseca also gives it up. So he's going to have to try again later on the #1 machine. Swinging their way around Turleman once again. And down towards the Boulderberg hairpin as everybody tries to get on the binders and then find that throttle without spinning the wheels up. We got another problem. Brett Thurman has gone around as we check in with Fonseca's view.
And Fonseca losing a little bit of touch here with Tavitas, but that's not too bad. We've seen him really close up in the second sector, looking very good on the brakes for that McLaren. Oh, you can see just how aggressive he's being over that curbing, really having to fight the car a little bit to keep it pointed the right way.
So well far back from Tavitas this time, and under threat now from Luke Davis. Davis not able to do anything in his Ferrari as he chases that McLaren, known for spitting those flames out of the exhaust as you let off the throttle. And now it's starting to be between Davis and Patel in the 14, getting close, each of them taking as much of that gravel on the outside as they dare. Davis certainly kicking up a lot of dirt, but still not enough for Ryan to manage to send one up the inside.
No, it's like I said at the top, Joe, overtaking is going to be at an absolute premium around here. You've really got to force a pretty massive mistake out of the driver in front of you to be able to claw back and get this right.
Out of the Villeneuve chicane and through Turleman they fly. Ooh, now we've got a problem for Paul Espina through that second chicane. Ooh, he had a little bit of contact with Dale Peterson, and actually a very good escape for Keel Spalding in the #8. Not sure if we got a replay on it. But Keel managing to avoid Espina suddenly going 360 in front of him. Here's the incident.
See a little bit of a look to the inside there, catches that wrong. Whew. If we can get it on board with that, that would be incredible. Some great avoidance there to get around to Espina.
Yeah, just very heads up in that situation as we ride on board. So let's see how close it was from his perspective. It looks close from every other angle, and woohoo, about a foot. He had about a foot.
Had room to spare. He was good.
Meanwhile, if we come back live, I think Salaputis, Burdick, and Le Mans are in a little bit of a battle coming down into the braking side by side. And it looks like Ferrari versus Ferrari is going to come out in favor of Caleb in the 42. Now another battle as Vargas in the Lamborghini tries to overtake but has to back out.
Yeah, that Lamborghini, remember, had a big balance of power adjustment to it this season. Oh, we've got another car around. I believe that's a BMW in the back. That looks like John Barry.
So Bianchi seems to be a bit of a trouble corner, and once again, it's a car taking too much of that gravel on the exit as he tries to find an opening to get back around. He did get hit as well. Cody Hatch got a piece of him, and Robert Gao trying to go around just could not find a wide enough opening, so they clipped him. Not sure how much damage that got them, though.
I'm not sure indeed, but he's able to at least be able to get back and running here. Looks like we've got a little bit of a side-by-side, a Porsche battle starting to develop. This is Ellison Roth going down into Jackie X.
And it looks like this is going to come out in favor of Roth. So nicely done down through the chicane. We already have a black flag for the 76 of Neil Alexander, who I'm assuming has taken too many incidents at this point. There you see the 76 on your screen now. I expect, yep, he's going to be serving that right away, it looks like. So someone has been a bit naughty with the track limits here in this race. What if we could go back to Ethan Tavitas himself, Luke Davis, and Ryan Prutel, all still glued together fighting for 8th.
Yeah, there is nothing separating these three, and you love to see this kind of thing. 3 different marks here, as this is the Audi, the Ferrari, and the Porsche all duking it out. That Ferrari taking a little bit more on the exit curbing as they break down now into the corner of Boulderberg, trying to see what it is. Everybody maximizing their exit as much as possible.
Yeah, they're going to spread apart now, so don't think there's anything in it. But this is an Audi leading a Ferrari, leading a Porsche. Interesting, we've got the three of the different marks here. Ooh, great exit from the Ferrari of Davis, though. He starts to close in. He gets within almost a car length, but then runs out of straightaway through Urs. They all struggle to get the cars to turn in through that plunging left-hander, and then it switches back for 3 right-handers in a row.
Yes, it does, and it looks like there that Ferrari of Davis just losing a little bit in the aero wake. These cars, these GT3s, not necessarily as aero dependent as the single-seaters that we've seen around here, but the aero wake is real. Closes up a little bit going down into Kleina, but he's not brave enough to make that move.
Not yet, anyways. This is a little bit closer than what we've got for the leaders. Just to update you, Becker about 9/10 off of Horvath, Pavolano 2.5 seconds off of Becker. So they have all spread apart. But credit to Drew for keeping Devin honest. Meanwhile, coming through Turleman, it looks like we might have a chance for an attack, maybe into Boulderberg. No, I think he's too far back on that one. But Davis is threatening. He is certainly threatening. And let's not forget about Fonseca behind them, trying to get back into this as he sends it a little wide coming off the hairpin, but still doing his darndest to run them back down.
Yeah, he is. That McLaren, it's spitting fire, spitting its signature fire as it goes down into Jackie X. Tries to take a little bit less of that exit curbing there as he narrowed up the corner a little bit. He's only about 1.3 seconds behind, so he can certainly close up here if he's able to just put his foot down.
Indeed, one of our onboards today, as I mentioned, so he's been doing his best to represent well, get back into the top 10 of this race and see if he can make it a fight with Prutel Davis, oh, and there's a spin. The Audi loses control. Ethan Tavitas somehow keeps it from whipping back into the barrier. Great job keeping that from becoming worse, but unfortunately he falls to 13th.
Yeah, he's going to fall down the order because of that, and that's going to find him placed squarely back in the running, I believe, just in front of that
Burdick,
Team Ferrari. Yeah, it's Burdick. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the number 2 now chasing him. And yeah, he's now in a 5-car fight once he was able to collect himself. Salabutis, another one of our onboards here today, just ahead of him, trying to go away from Caleb in the 42. So having had that BOP, it seems like this Lamborghini's not doing too bad. In fact, I think he's the highest Lambo. Yes, Nick is the fastest one out on the track right now, as he takes that very brightly multicolored Lamborghini through Jackie Ickx. That is nice and smooth through there, still holding off Caleb, Ethan, Ryan, and Lucio.
Yeah, doing a good job to keep everything nice and together here. And yeah, as I said, just a little bit more weight applied to the Lamborghini on the balance of performance to slow it down a little bit. It was a little bit overpowered last season. We saw a lot of great drivers in that car really maximize with it. And so iRacing, in their constant quest to try to make these GT3s as even as possible, just applying a little bit of weight ballast to try to lower it down a little bit more.
Ooh, that was a good exit, though, from Limon. Is he going to try and attack here? He gets within 2/10. Nope, it's just not long enough. This track is not very long. It's not something we've talked about a lot. It's only 2.5 miles. And yes, it has 10 turns, but so many of them are chicanes that just keep breaking up whatever straightaway you get.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. And that's really one of the reasons why it's so difficult to overtake around here, is just because you don't have that long run to really be able to get a good attack going down into a corner. It's sort of stop and start racing. It's almost like a track that drives a little bit like a street track in that regard, just 90-degree corners left, right, and center.
As we come farther back up the field, crossing the start-finish line once again, McKenzie still trying to chase on those ahead of him, but now Brisson has put a lapped car between them. That's David Morse that you see in front of him. So that's not for position. In fact, the leaders, I think, also starting to lap cars, as I just heard Becker get on the radio for someone that he overtook. So things are getting interesting now, and they might need that lap traffic. It's looking like, after the initial craziness of the start, DJ, that passing is proving just so tough.
Yeah, it's proving to be very, very difficult, as we kind of predicted it would be. Riding on board with Drew Becker right now, trying to keep that gap as close as possible, but he has just been losing a little bits and bobbles of time here. Lost a big chunk of time 2 laps ago on lap 10, about 0.8 of a second. He's been able to close it in here a little bit more now, but let's see how he runs on this lap. It looks like he is in the green to Devin Horvath.
Yeah, we always talk about with our Laust Olsen with the Camel Series, the pucker factor. I was trying to figure out what's going on with the tongue there with Drew Becker. If we need a name for that one now, if that emerges depending on the situation. But 1.3 seconds up to Devin Horvath, keeping him honest, making sure that he can't make any mistakes. And we're getting close to the pit stops as well. Eventually, we're going to see drivers have to stop in, take fuel, as we're nearly exactly halfway.
Yep, and normally in this series, we tend to see drivers be able to extend this out to about the 12-minute mark as the last point where they go into the last round of pit stops. But because you can't really save all that much fuel around here, Joe, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some pit stops fire off earlier.
And here's the attack, maybe. Limon thinking about it down into Bianchi, decides against it. And unfortunately, that compromises his exit. So Nick retains that 11th position. So he's safe for the time being. The more they try and fight, though, Tavitas is ready to try and pick it up. Remember, he's slightly out of position from his mistake.
Yeah, and once again, coming back to the lack of overtaking opportunities, you have to imagine that Tavitas would have been able to get by here were it not for just all of these chicanes getting in his way. But what he can do here is he can really apply pressure up to Le Mans, because he's going to be having to looking both ahead and behind, and that sort of cognitive dissonance that he's going to have to be dealing with means he's going to be more prone to making a mistake.
That was Baron Hilton that we saw at the side of the track, the second chicane. Double Zero is actually waiting a long time to return. Now, we don't have full course cautions or anything here. I'm just not sure why he's sitting stationary. Oh, Fonseca is in, and yeah, I was going to say I saw him losing positions. I thought for a second that maybe he had a problem himself. So the 666 now pitting, looking for his stall. He's the first to blink, I believe, unless David Morse actually took a scheduled stop down in 35th. I see a 12-second stop in his stall, so I'll have to check on that. Oh, what's happened here?
It looks like just a bunch of drivers having a big problem coming off of Lucien Bianchi there. One of the McLarens down farther in the field. Is that Alexander?
Yes, that's Neil Alexander. He unfortunately spun himself, causing Tommy Brisson a heart attack as he had to go all the way around. In fact, if we want an interesting onboard, the 13 did a very good job keeping from getting caught up and making it a two-car incident.
Yeah, and that's one of the things you have to be careful around here at Zolder, is just making sure you can avoid those other machines. Nice little battle starting to develop out here. This is Salaputas, Tavitas, and Vargas. We continue to see this, but it continues to be very, very close in the field.
Oh, but Limon just got this position. This was into the second chicane. And I believe we've got the replay of the incident avoidance there for Brisson. So let's check on that one first. And then I don't know if we've got the pass with Limon over Salaputas, but that's been a while coming. Here's the incident. He starts to see the spin. He sees the smoke. Whoa. Great job there for the SimuCube car to manage to hold on to fourth place. And we come back live now. He's 6.7 seconds off of Pavolano. That cost him some time having to go off into the dirt, but now back down to ninth. Can Caleb start to pull away? Oh, Colin McKenzie is off. Colin McKenzie out of the Kleine chicane. Finds himself losing some positions. I don't think he hit anything, but the curbs bit him for sure.
Well, and that's that Audi that I was talking about, Joe. It does not like the curbing around here, and so that clearly having an effect on Colin McKenzie, seeing him drop all the way down into 8th place.
So let's see. Luke Davis has taken a stop. So Luke Davis actually just came in and out. I wonder if that was in response to Fonseca. And Miguel is also in and out. Xanadakis is between them as we watch the 26 chase the 42. Will these two now pit in this time by? As, oh, ahead of them, someone poking their nose out. That's Colin McKenzie with a lapped car, actually. None of these four pit in. They're all going to stay out. Oh, but it was a bad run from Tavitas. Tavitas with a mistake, and Vargas is on the attack.
That's going to be Vargas in that Lamborghini, trying to push him down a little bit, maybe trying to pinch him into a low corner around the outside here. Normally a pretty good way to go. Vargas looks like he's got the momentum. I think he's got the oomph as now they go down into the right-hander, and that's move done for Vargas.
Ooh, tries to cut back underneath, and he's actually going to get it. He's going to have the overlap, but he backs out of it, not willing to risk it. So the Audi has been passed by practically an Audi.
Indeed, it has both VW marks there.
And coming down into the Kleine chicane, yep, he is solidly ahead, does not make the mistake now that he has gotten the spot. As, oh, side by side coming down into the second chicane. That is Morse, and Morse is a lap down. Okay, so he's being lapped by Limon, and Salaputas unfortunately getting caught out, not able to get by.
And that's going to be a big storyline here in this race, Joe, about that lapped traffic. When you pit, if you're able to avoid it, coming out in a little bit of clean air to run some clean laps, because as you said, very, very short, just 2.5 mile circuit here, and these drivers already finding themselves up to their necks in lapped cars.
Rob Campbell now pitting in, so another one of our front runners. Nobody else joining him yet that I'm seeing. I'm watching that pit entry like a hawk because we are towards the end of the pit window now. If we don't see them next lap, 2 laps probably going to be the max for most of them. Campbell hitting his stall. We're expecting Davis and crew to be able to easily go by Rob. So Davis is just coming down towards Ix. Campbell finishes his stop, 12 seconds, 12.6 compared to Davis at 12. And maybe I'm wrong. Campbell might be out ahead of him as we continue to watch Limon here. Oh, and no, Salaputis did not get by. He's still behind him.
Ooh, and a late lunge there for Lucio Vargas, being able to get by some of that lap traffic. He has really got a move on here. Lucio not waiting around. He wants to try to get up behind his fellow Lamborghini driver of Nicholas Salaputis.
15 minutes left to go. Still the vast majority of the field needing to take a stop. Tavitas now the one caught up behind and eventually passed Morse. Morse has just been in the wrong place at the wrong time for a lot of our lead cars, eventually letting Spalding by, but he spins up the rear tires in the process out of the slowest corner on the track. Horvath carried on. Looks like most of the other drivers keeping going. Oh, we've had an incident. It looks like actually a couple cars. Baron Hilton was off track, and then there was coming together next to him. That was Matthews and Burdick. So lapped car getting hit by the number 2 of Burdick. And you can see it looks like Ryan is elected to come into the pits immediately, I'm guessing due to some damage.
Yeah, Joe, that car is crabbing really hard. Look at that. That is some very, very heavy suspension damage to that Ferrari.
I think he just outbraked himself, what I can see from my replay, as he just sent it in a little too hot. We're going to take a look at it. It's unfortunate because it was not racing with this car. Oh.
It looks like it was a combination of that, and I think he may have touched the grass a little bit coming in. Yeah, that's what it was. That rear tire touching the grass, sending him around. He made contact there with the lapped car before he'd even been in, before he'd even got into the braking zone.
That other car disappeared. Was that the incident limit for Matthews? I think it was. Yeah, Matthews got DQ'd.
Oh.
So that's going to be one that will not leave many people happy in the end, as our leaders are now finally pitting. You can see lapped cars coming out. That's Jeremy Durbin that is exiting. Looks like Brian Hoskins as well. Horvath back out. And Becker. Ooh, Becker's lost a lot of time, has he not? Yeah. Big difference between them compared to before.
Yeah, he was about a second slower in the box and a second slower in the lane, so that is going to be a big loss there for him. Looks like 3 drivers were able to stay out: Putel, Salaputis, and Tavitas.
There's a lot of damage on the front of Horvath, though. How did he get that? I'm checking real quick to see if I can spot where that came from. Wasn't after the pit stop. This must have been some time ago. Yeah, it's at least a couple laps ago. Well, that's bizarre. He's not lost pace. It's big damage on the right front. And he's been dealing with this for multiple laps.
That's really impressive there, and obviously not any rear issues there on that rear wing, which would affect the top line speed, but I would anticipate that kind of damage to affect the turn-in of the car, and especially at such a twisty track like this, it is very impressive that he has been able to continue to pull out a gap here over Drew Becker.
I managed to find it. Lap 15, we don't need a replay, but he went over one of the curbs too hard, and it was so hard that it basically just bunched up the entire right front of the car. Well, we thought that that would be an issue, but I guess in the case of Devin Horvath, any problem he experiences, he's just going to plow straight through, literally.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just keep on going here, and he's going to have some lap traffic that's coming out in front of him there. Looks like that is going to be Christopher Rhines, who's going to get out of, excuse me, Jim Fitzpatrick, who's going to get out of the way for him. He'll have some clear sailing here for a while, about 8 seconds up the road to Christopher Rhines right now.
So all of our pit stops have now effectively finished. We're just waiting on the 115 to get back out on course. So your order is Horvath, Pavolano, what happened to Becker? It should be Horvath Becker. Did he lose his internet, I wonder?
I think he did. He just disappeared. I'm waiting for the official confirmation from iRacing with a packet loss issue, but that's got to be the only logical explanation I can think of.
Wow. Well, Pavolano has had second place handed to him on a silver platter. And Brisson is now promoted up into the podium. Tommy, by the way, remember how much we were making a big deal about him being under threat early on? He's now got 3.4 seconds over Rob Campbell. There's nobody challenging him.
That's really, really impressive. And it is a great drive from Tommy Brisson. Obviously, we saw him have one of the best late ends to the season last year in the Ferrari Challenge. Good to see him really, really living up to that expectation here, even though it looks like he has a little bit of damage to the right front of that Mercedes. The hood just kinked up a little bit.
Gutting news for Drew Becker fans. We got confirmation that he disconnected. He's going to try and reconnect, it looks like, and see if he can finish this race, but he's certainly going to be at least one, if not two, laps down. And that second place was for sure in his hands. He just had to cruise home from there. Meanwhile, as we've got Pavolano dealing with a lot of traffic here, that's Fitzpatrick, who's going to go slow through the chicane, which certainly makes things awkward for a few other drivers trying to get through. Pavolano's been having some connection issues too. He's been blinking a lot. I'm hoping that clears up on his end.
Yeah, I'm hoping as well as we continue to follow here. Brisson is now coming up behind that same lapped traffic of Jim Fitzpatrick. Hopefully Jim's just going to get out of the way here for Tommy. And yeah.
He's still not, hopping out of the way. In fact, down into the hairpin as well, holding the racing line. He's allowed to. He's not doing anything to intentionally hold him up here. Just running his own race, and it's up to Tommy to try and get the overtake done. He's been given blue flags, but they do not require you to move over. Looks like a much better exit this time, maybe? No, starts to pull away. The Ferrari still outgunning him. But he's pulling off the racing line. It looks like now he's going to let him through. There he goes. Nicely done. So Brisson is through. Now, one thing these pit stops have done, unfortunately, is all the battles of multiple cars in a train that we had got completely broken up. So most of the drivers are just kind of settling in. We have had some really good hard chargers, though, throughout the fields. I look at Robert Gow in the 115. He's up 14 positions, so that's a very good day for him. And also the number 517 of Andrew Ellis is up 13 spots as well. He's tied with Jeremy Durbin, who's also up 13. So there's certainly some climbers today.
And Joe, bad news for fans of Paul Espina. It looks like the driver of the number 20 machine has gotten a drive-through penalty.
Oh. And we've actually lost two drivers to incident limits. Neil Alexander and Nicholas Matthews have both been given DNFs for overdoing the off tracks and winding up being given the black flag with a white cross, unfortunately. So sad to see this race has gathered up a few naughty drivers today as we come off of the hairpin. That looked like Fonseca trying to give chase on Poutel a little bit. There we see him again. Yeah, Fonseca trying to regather things up. He's up 5 positions. He has gained quite a bit, but so has everybody around him. So as the pink car chases the orange and white, what can he do on the Porsche?
Well, you saw him poking his nose to the outside a little bit there, just kind of moving over to the racing line a little bit earlier, trying to fill the rear view mirrors of that Porsche a little bit onto the braking zone here as they work their way through this series of right-handers. Fonseca taking a little bit more of a narrow line through there, just trying to take the shortest distance from point A to point B. He's just trying to hassle here. I get the sense that's what he's doing. Wide run there up ahead, though, for Patel.
That allows him to gain a little bit, but not enough. Under braking, the McLaren looking pretty strong. Over the curbs, even stronger. Now he is right on top of him. Does he try the pass here? Time's running out. He's not going to get many good opportunities after this. He knows it. He sends it in deep. They're going to go side by side through the chicane and even into the marbles. It looks like Fonseca's holding tough, but no, he can't get the traction down as they go around Turleman. There goes Putel on through, and now that's McKenzie. This is for position. He's on the attack.
Oh, and now here comes Fonseca fighting back, going down into Jochen Rindt in the chicanes, and he's got it.
It's not over yet. McKenzie versus Putel as they try to break 4X. Ryan has the inside, but Colin McKenzie has the better binders. He's going to take 7th place away.
Really, really good stuff there from Miguel Fonseca in that McLaren. That is how you get a pass done here at Zolder.
I wonder if that one's over, though. I think they've still got racing to go in this one, especially if anybody has the tiniest little slip-up. Don't need to go to it, but Corey Precker had an off, returns to the track after just a gentle touch with the wall. He fell to 15th. Horvath is sitting pretty, though, right now. 4 minutes to go with an 8.5-second lead. Remember, he won the first race, and Becker came in second in the first race. That would have been the exact same finishing order once again for the 1-2. But unfortunately, the internet had other ideas for Drew Becker, who is back out on the track, and he's running 33rd.
Yeah, Joe, we actually just got word from Becker in the chat that it was a computer crash that took him out of the race.
So even worse, not just having to try and get it to reconnect, he had to restart the whole computer, which takes even longer. Let's hope he had an SSD drive for iRacing so that can get going quick. Meanwhile, as they come out of the Boulderberg hairpin, once more, it looks like Fonseca is having to try and shake McKenzie. Putel is seeing Limon get very big in his mirrors. He's left Salaputis well behind. That was the driver he was fighting much earlier in this race and has distanced himself by about half a dozen seconds.
Yeah, indeed, he has as they separate out there in the 14 of Patel, trying to dive down that corner, well, holding off Limon to the best of his abilities. Whoa, that Ferrari looking very dangerous on the binders.
This is going to be fascinating at the very end of this race. Yes, the podium is separated, but within the top 10, this is looking tense for these drivers, knowing that every point is going to count here. This sprint series does not let you rest. 3 minutes to go. So Horvath coming across the line is going to get 2 to go this time, I believe.
Yeah, that's about what it's going to be by my calculation. So only 2 more laps around this tight and twisting circuit, and all of these drivers are going to know that. Look for some amped up aggression here. Try to salvage that last little bit of position that you can.
This might be a little close, though. This could be 3 laps, but it's going to be tight. We'll see. In the end, down into Boulderberg, and Fonseca sees even bigger in his mirrors now. The likes of McKenzie. The Audi is starting to threaten, and they've got lap traffic in front. Fitzpatrick, Durbin, Davis, what are they going to do? Oh, they're very slow immediately, and in fact, that compromises the exit of Fonseca. I don't think McKenzie's got a shot in here. Those two, they're battling for position, I believe.
Yeah, they are. That's 28th and 29th out on track. Fonseca's going to have to carry it around the long way and barely holds it on around him. That's going to give a big opportunity to McKenzie.
Can't quite get all the way to the outside line. He's going to try to swing the long way around. Don't think that's going to work on a triple apexer to the right-hand side. He's still going to fight it, though, as they break into Bianchi, trying for the over-under. Fonseca launching off the corner, immediately weaves to the right to try and break the slipstream. He gets close. McKenzie thinks about it, but then comes back to the racing line.
Yeah, trying to take those high percentage moves. Big chunk of the curb there for Miguel Fonseca, almost getting all four wheels in the air.
Keeping an eye on Horvath here. And 27 seconds. Yep, it is 1 to go this time by for our leader. So Ellis is now taking the white flag. Had a problem with Corey Precker. He spun himself coming through Erst. So not sure what caused that exactly. Meanwhile, getting very close. And look at how eager Fonseca is on the throttle, trying to keep himself clear of Colin.
He is doing everything that he can, and meanwhile, Colin McKenzie is just trying to fill that rearview mirror as much as possible. They don't have a whole lot of lap traffic up in front of them. The next car is Luke Davis in that red Ferrari, about 2.8 seconds up the road, so it should be a clear blast on this last lap.
1 to go. Last chance here for Colin McKenzie. We've lost another front runner. Keel Spalding is our third DNF due to incident limits. I did not expect this to be the track that was causing that. Eric Dubé also seeing a black flag for him, so he's going to have to come down pit lane and serve that. And if he's got time, at least, he may have already crossed it and will have to serve a post-race penalty with added time. Meanwhile, this is much better for Fonseca that time into Kleina, well clear.
Yeah, he's got a gap of about 0.4 of a second. That should give him a little bit of breathing room, but he's still got to be careful coming up into Villeneuve. Big moves on the brakes there for McKenzie.
And let's go to Devin Horvath. Second win in a row here in the GT3 Sprint Series at Zolder. Pavolano follows him home 8 seconds clear when that position was handed to him by problems for Becker's Internet. Brisson as well promoted up to third for the same reason.
And as they come out of the final corner here, watching that battle between Fonseca and McKenzie. McKenzie looking very squirrely. I think he's going to go for a move.
Oh, don't throw this away, guys. He wanted it, but that's the right thing to do. Colin not going to try and wreck the both of them. Fonseca, great defense for 6. McKenzie, a good effort, and coming home in 7th.
Good stuff there from them, and yet another commanding drive from Devin Horvath, clearly staking his claim to the championship here in the GT3 Series.
Got a bit of a battle for 16th, Gao and Vonko on that one. And there you can see Robert in the 115 and the Porsche leading the Ferrari. Glenn took a little bit of a look. In fact, I think that may cost him a better chance here down to the chicane as he fell way back off of him.
Yeah, he is not going to have the chance to attack back here into Jackie Ickx. They work their way out of the corner. The Ferrari looks pretty good, but he's just going to run out of straightaway and run out of time.
And Eric Dubé's trying to serve his penalty, but no, that's not going to work, Eric. You can't go into pit lane on the last lap. So no matter what, he's going to be our last driver on the lead lap. As we now take a quick break, we'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Zolder. We just watched round 2 in the Precision Racing League GT3 Sprint Series with Devin Horvath going back-to-back for wins at the start of the season. Michael Pavolano, though, nicely done up to second, starting from third, though couldn't match the pace of Devin today. Tommy Rassal wound up in third with Rob Campbell in P4. He climbed up from ninth, and similar climb in positions for Luke Davis, 10th to 5th. 12th to 6th, though, for Miguel Fonseca, 6th position gain. Colin McKenzie finished where he started in 7th, as Caleb Limon was 8th. You've got Ryan Patel in 9th, and Lucio Vargas rounds out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Ethan Tavitas, followed by Nicholas Salaputis, with Alan Roth up 13 on the day and Andrew Ellis up 16. Dale Peterson came home 15th, and our biggest mover on the day was 16th, Robert Go, moving up 17 spots. Glenn Banco came home 17th, followed by Alex Wright, with Corey Precker in 19th and Roy Brown in 20th.
Last two on the lead lap were Christopher Rhines and Eric Dubé. Then it's Blake Ziti with some issues, 23rd. Brian Hoskins was 24th. David Morris, who seemed to be everywhere today, wound up 25th as Nico Zanadakis finished P26. Then you've got Jeremy Durbin in 27th. It was Jim Fitzpatrick in 28th. John Barry, 29th. Paul Espina rounds out your top 30.
In 31st, 2 laps down was Kill Spalding, followed by Cody Hatch and Drew Becker, able to recover from that computer crash to come home 33rd. Ryan Luna was 4 laps down in 34th, followed by Barron Hilton and Neil Alexander. The rest of the drivers, their DNFs on the day.
And Devin Horvath, our winner, may have had Drew Becker behind him for much of the race, but eventually he disappeared and left him to run his own. Devin, before the connection problem took out Becker, did you feel like he was keeping you challenged?
Yeah, for sure. I was just trying to not look too much in the mirrors and look ahead and just focus on my lines. And yeah, it seemed to work out good. I did get a message from him saying that he disconnected with 10 minutes left, so that was that sucks. It would have been close at the end after the pit stops, and with all the traffic, it would have made it interesting.
Absolutely. I have to ask, are you going to be filming the latest Star Wars in your setup here? Because you got a very massive green screen.
No, it's not a green screen. It's actually just a light in behind my seat. I'm just messing around with some different stuff to see, I don't know, just what looks best on the cam. So.
Well, you had me fooled. That looks like a perfect chroma green to me. But,
yeah.
Man, 2 to start off the season, that bodes well. What does that do for your feelings heading off into the remaining 8 rounds?
Really good, really good. Usually I'm not the fastest starter, so like the other 2 seasons I've raced in the PRL, it's always started a little bit slow, so it's definitely encouraging with 2 wins starting off in the season, and hopefully I can keep it rolling.
Well, again, fantastic work. Who would you like to thank that helped make this win possible?
I'd like to thank my wife that takes over the parenting duties every Monday so I could race. My teammate Ethan, we usually get together and practice, and he keeps me motivated. Besides that, about it.
Great stuff. That was the 32, Devin Horvath, winning here today in his Ferrari 488. Up next, though, DJ is caught up with Michael Pavolano, who finished second in a BMW.
I have indeed, Michael. A great drive out there for you, although a little bit of slicing and dicing around a pretty tight track.
Thanks, DJ. Yeah, it was. My pace at the beginning was very inconsistent. So because I hit the chicane there, so I was trying to trail. I'm be honest, I'm surprised finishing second. I don't know what happened to Drew, but I guess I got to watch the replay there.
He had a computer failure, is what we heard.
That's unfortunate because he definitely had the pace, and I was just settling into third, basically.
Well, in terms of that, I mean, you still had your hands full. Talk to me about navigating some of that lap traffic, because this is a circuit where it's next to impossible to overtake, but with lap traffic, you got to get around somehow.
Yeah, and that's actually top of my mind when we sort of the top three pulled away, and I said, okay, don't relax, because once and it's just like you said, the nature of the track. You're going to hit lap traffic, especially if you have 40 cars out there, and navigating that is quite tricky. So I just made it a point to just create awareness to the lap traffic in front of me. Flash my lights just for awareness. Nothing against the people in front, but just to create that, just to make sure that we can take it easy in passing. So, but I think it worked out well, and no major issues.
Well, looking ahead, I don't think we're going to have the same problem with passing next time out as we head to the Daytona Road Course. How do you think that's going to go?
Yeah, well, that's going to be definitely interesting. I raced that last week with our league, and I didn't do too badly, but like you said, the passing there is now a little bit different. You gotta set it up because of the slipstream. So it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen next week. There's a lot of fast guys in this league, and I gotta practice, right? So.
Well, I guess that's all you can do, Michael. But anybody you'd like to thank for the run today?
Yeah, my wife and kids for continuing to support my hobby here. You guys for the great broadcast, PRL for the amazing league. My buddies at the BMW Car Club of America, both on the NCC chapter and the Trillium chapter, which I'm missing actually our league night tonight for this. So shout out to those guys. Thanks.
Well, thank you. That was Michael Pablano, your second place finisher here today.
That takes us to third place, Tommy Brisson. And Tommy was one of 3 Mercedes cars because much like real life right now, they seem not to be the car to have, but you dragged that thing into third. How'd you manage that, Tommy?
Oh, I did a lot of practice this week with my teammate Eric, so I guess that helped a lot. And everybody says the Merc is slower, but with practice, I guess we can control it.
You clearly can. Now, obviously, you inherited one position because of connection problems for Becker, but you also, for the early part of the race, saw a lot of cars right behind you. How do you deal with that kind of pressure?
I like to think that they're not there. It's hard, but I need to focus in front instead of behind. So that's the way I like to think. But yes, it's that puts a lot of pressure. So you need to look in front, not behind.
Clearly a good skill to have, especially considering we're going to Daytona, where you're probably going to experience some draft trains going on. Can you repeat this podium?
Oh, I'll try. We'll see. Yes, with the draft, it's different. I don't have much experience with ovals, so I'll try to practice this week for sure.
Well, it sounds like a good plan to me. Who helped put the Mercedes on the podium today?
Again, like I said, my teammate Eric. So we do a lot of practice. I think it's practice, and this is how you end up being better.
Awesome stuff. That was the 13, Tommy Brisson, finishing P3 today. And that's going to close us out. But first, we want to thank the sponsors of the channel and the series. Majors Garage, of course, the home of Baseline Plus setups, 24/7 coaching, and more. Check out our link in the description below and use our special discount code Majors GSRC for 10% off. Also, ASR, they design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. As well as RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here, and additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. And check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storeenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. And next time out, we're going to the Red Bull Ring for the MX-5s and Daytona's road course for Monday, April 4th. On the GT3s. That'll be 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.